Hey guys, what's going on? This is Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not alone today. I'm joined by Darth Microtransaction. Darth, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good today, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you have going on in the game? What are you working on right now?
Well, I just pulled Atlanticus on what we were calling the 24-hour challenge account, which is us doing a 24-hour straight live stream. And we're just, let's see how far you can get on a new account in 24 hours, right? That was the idea. Okay. And on the third ancient ever, we pulled Atlanticus. So we started with Gaelic and then got Atlanticus. So now it's like, okay, well, how far can you get in 2 days? Well, now 3 days.
Dude, do you think they give you purposely like a higher chance at a legendary very early on?
You know, so this is a topic that I talked about with Chosen. We called it the Mythbusters episode, wondering about this, where what we did was we made a new accounts and then we checked their mercy tracker, because I thought maybe it placed you like on a random mercy track, you know, in the beginning. So it's like some people are like at 180 or, you know, already over 200 or whatever. But no, they all started 0. As far as the mercy trackers back in the day before they blocked them could tell. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It seems like people get legendaries in the beginning quite often. Absolutely.
Well, I guess luck of the draw. The same thing happened to me. I got Prince Kaimar as one of my first pulls. But anyway, we're not here to talk about third accounts and free-to-play accounts and whatnot. We're here to talk about rare champions. So I'm sure we're going to touch on a lot of the champions that we use on our free-to-plays. But let's go ahead and talk about all the rare champions that we would max out. Okay, so let's just start with Shadowkin. Let's start from the bottom here to really switch things up, Darth. So have you actually used any of these rare champions here in Shadowkin?
Yes, because on that same account we pulled 2 Vagabonds like back to back, basically within the first 10 shards.
Oh, okay. So Vagabond's kind of one of the newer rare champions in Shadowkin. Why do you like her?
Well, don't be so hasty. I didn't say I necessarily liked her. I did get her as like one of the first rares I even had on the account. So the basic animation is really cool looking. That's why I can say for the basic. The A2 is turn meter fill and the A3 is turn meter fill, and that's basically all you really get out of this character.
Yeah, the double turn meter fill. Yeah, I hear you. Honestly, man, I've been kind of underwhelmed by all of the new rares they've released in the game. I guess as of late. This guy, Odachi, though, is my favorite out of the Shadowkin champions. Would I invest in him, though, as a free-to-play player? I don't know. He has a provoke on his A1. He's defense based. He's got 35% chance provoke. On his A2, he has a shield on himself with an AoE attack based on defense on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has block buffs on all allies for 1 turn with an increased defense weak version on a 3-turn cooldown. So I actually think it's a pretty solid kit for a rare champion. He's the guy that I'm most high on out of all these Shadowkin rares. What do you think of? I would actually invest in him if I needed a little bit. I mean, I like the block debuffs. I like the block debuffs, and if I needed like help with a progression, you know, what do you think?
I'm hot cold on him because here's the thing: I like that he probably has a decent amount of CC. You put like a stun set on him with his A2, but then the problem is I'm sitting here thinking, if I'm going to do the stun set thing, then I'm just going to use someone who has an AoE on their basic, and there's like plenty of rares that have that. So I'm like, okay, I can't really do the stun set. So now I'm thinking, well, there's the A3, but then realistically we have to book them twice. So it is nice that it's just the cooldown. So I guess you could get down to a 3-turn cooldown. If that was 60% increased defense, he would be nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know, still that it's a rare though.
It is a rare.
Where I like him though is the aura. It's decent.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like defense in dungeon by 25%, which isn't that low. I mean, 33% like alt in the legendary and all that. Those 25 in dungeon's not too much lower than that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Kind of like an apothecary lead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I didn't have because the video is supposed to be no questions asked, so there are some questions being asked here on this champion Odachi, but I would say if you don't have a Greybeard or Apothecary or something like that for that dungeon aura by 25%, I think he's a really cool choice to have. And you know, he has the provoke again on the A1, not incredibly helpful, but I do like the block debuffs, which is hard to find on 3-turn cooldown on a rare champion, right? I think, yeah, I want to say there might not be any. Yeah.
We started with the hardest faction, I think.
Yes,
they don't,
and that's why we're spending and we're spending a little bit more time here too. This video won't be like 3 hours long, guys, because these are all new rare champions, you know, in the game. So he's the only champion that I would even consider a a wise investment, I guess. We do have a decreased attacker on Marauder as well. He has a provoke. But again, that's on one champion, so I'm not a big fan. It is on 3-turn cooldown. Anybody else here that you like?
Assassin's kind of okay. Like if you pull Assassin early game, he's kind of like a better outlaw monk in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
50% chance goes up to 75% chance of a 5% poison, which is on the basic. So that's kind of nice. And then the A2 increases the duration of enemies by a turn.
Yeah.
I mean, for a beginning rare, that's not bad. And then
you're right.
A3 weaken. So, you know, that's something that's good too. Granted, it's not the 25% one, but it's not bad. And it's ally speed in all battles by 10%. So,
yeah,
you know,
he's not
worth mention.
Yeah, he's not trash, but I would pass even my free-to-play. You probably would too. Maybe I'm making assumptions here. Just because of his defense and speed. Like, they want him to be a clan boss champion, right? And it starts out pretty cool. You're like, okay, weekend, I can work with that. Okay, increase the chances of debuffs. That's great. Poison, awesome. And then you're like, wow, 771 defense. Like, where am I going to use him, you know? I guess easy clan boss? I don't know. So those are our shout-outs for Shadowkin. No obvious choices there, though, in Shadowkin. Going to dwarfs. Wow, a lot. I didn't even realize there was this many, this many rares in dwarf. Do you want to start it out by your favorite dwarf rare?
Right off the bat, huh? Okay, you know, I'm gonna send you one that you're probably not expecting, which is Runic Warther.
Okay.
So I actually really like Runic Warther because I have pulled this guy on a new free-to-play account twice now, and both times when I built him, I did not regret it because. I mean, really, it's his A3. I mean, if we really cut straight down to it,
that's
reflect damage, which for people that don't know, this is mostly for the Fire Knight. So when the Fire Knight hits you, every person that he hits who has that reflect damage buff on, it takes 1 away from his shield. So if he has 10, he hits 5 people, 5 minus 10, 5, right? Nice and easy.
Real men of genius.
Real men of genius.
Essentially as good as a counterattack. And then obviously if you have a counterattack as well, lucky you, because then if the Fire Knight attacks, his shield's automatically gone before anyone even takes a turn. And continuous heal is just a bonus, you know? I mean, like I would do it just for the reflect damage, but the continuous heal is a bonus. The other moves aren't really that big of a deal. It does have a 50% decreased attack built into a rare as well, which is kind of nice. And the basics hits twice, which
each hit,
doesn't really do anything, but
yeah. The decreased attack lit it has a chance on each hit as well, so not too bad. And 2 hitters on both the other skills. So again, Fire Knight Specialist, I agree with you, man. And the the continuous heal is a nice added bonus. So and pretty fast for a rare at 103 base speed, you know. So good call out there on Runic Warder. I'm gonna go with. I used to really be a big fan of Avir the Alchmage, and I guess I'll give him a quick shout out here, but I had to put my money where my mouth is, and I didn't end up building him when I pulled him on my free-to-play, man. This guy is all right, but here's the thing, right? And this is why I judge on a pretty high curve now, Darth, is because there's so many amazing epics and legendaries, some of them that you can get for free now, that you have to really be picky on some of these rares. Do you want to rank them up, to 6 stars? It's a lot of resources that goes into that. I like the decreased attack on Avir the Alchmage. I like the turn meter fill, and I like the, the small heal, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. But for me, I know some people still like him. What about you? How do you feel on Avir?
I've changed the way that I feel about rares. So originally, in just kind of characters in general, before I started doing all these free-to-plays, and Kitty, you were making a lot of noise. Before I really started doing these free-to-plays, I kind of looked at characters like, is this character good all the way fully maxed out? Like, is this a character somebody, 6-star, level 60, ascended, book? Because that's what I did with characters. That's the resources I had available to me. Plarium was giving me resources. I was buying resources, and it was easy to do. When I started doing these free-to-play new accounts, I started seeing him as, is this character bro usable while I get him from level 1 to level 50? And then is he somebody that I can feel good about crunching as a 5-star while getting that usability along the way? Like if I put this the Alchmage guy, he's got poison, right? He's got attacks all enemies with a minor decreased attack, sure, but also maybe decreased speed, which the A2 is probably just going to be damage or what taunting set or whatever you put on. Fills the turn of all allies and heals all allies 50%. I'd probably get him to 4-star, use him during that time until I got an Apothecary or something,
Okay, I like that take. Yeah, so you wouldn't max him, but you would 4 or 5-star, no questions asked. That's actually a really good point though, because I use a few characters on my free-to-play who are just 5-star max, and I'm not sure if I'm going to take them to 6 stars, but they still serve me well. And faction crypts are important for the Forge, you know, and for glyphs, obviously. So, you know, having a couple dwarves it's a really good call out there. Anybody else that you would max, no questions asked? I guess mine is Khazar Deepheart. He's an interesting champion. He was the first champion other than Stag Knight to be added to the game that has a increased accuracy. So a 50% increased accuracy is huge, especially on a free-to-play, right? Also has a decreased defense on the same ability, granted the small version, all on a 3-turn cooldown. This is a dude that I would max or I would 6-star and not necessarily book up, because look at this. 9 levels on the A3, good God. And then 6 levels of only damage on the A2, like, and then 6 levels of damage on A1, dude. His books are ridiculous, but I do think that taking him to 6 stars without the books is still fine, because he still has a 3-turn cooldown on his A2 and his A3.
Well, also something that's really cool about him, and kind of a built-in mechanic of people that are, what's the word for it, void, is that you don't really have to worry about getting weak hits, which is always something that I love a lot when it comes to things like placing defense. So this guy, he has one of the 2 things you need for not placing weak hits, which is either 1, being void, or 2, having a move that doesn't actually hit somebody, it just does something, which means you have to pass the accuracy check, which is basically what the move we're talking about here, Deep Ambush, does, which has a 75% chance of placing 30% decrease defense for 2 turns. That might not seem like something that's very good, because it's not. It's only 30% decreased defense, but super early on, which is kind of what I've been focusing on lately these days, having something that just places the defense is really nice in like early game arena, like even bronze and silver. You know what I'm talking about? Like being able to place it without them, you know, having the weak hit or something
not
like that.
predicated on that crit.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice to have. Like I'm working on farming a War Maiden right now, and I don't have him. So it's just pulling him would automatically probably make me max him, strictly because I would have accuracy problems solved in the beginning of the game for a while, because it's not like my Great Hall is built up yet. And then I would also get a pseudo decreased defense in the same one. Yeah, I think he's probably a good answer to that.
Yeah, I think Khazar's, and he does a decent amount of damage as well, you know? So I like that, and a good call out on the placing versus, you know, predicated on those critical hits. And even on the A2, each critical hit fills his champion's turn meter, to your point, less chance of getting any weak hits at all there because he's void. The other 2 I would call out here, not my personal favorites, but Bulwark for Clan Boss, because he has the, when attacked, has the chance of extending the duration of all debuffs on the attacker, and also Dilgal, who has an AoE 2-time hitter, so a good stun option as well. We don't have to go through all, because we'll be here for like 5 hours if we go through every single one, but those would be the other 2 that I would consider. What about you? Anybody else that we didn't mention?
Okay, so you mentioned you kind of mentioned the ones that are basically worth maxing, but I want to mention one other person that's just fun, which is Master Butcher.
Yeah,
I like these characters that kind of have different mechanics, like Ironclad in the Barbarians, you know, or Orcs or wherever. It's going to be another one I'm going to mention for sure. You're looking at him, when attacked, heals all allies equal to the amount of damage taken. Doesn't work against bosses, so you know you can't heal for 100 billion with an unkillable clan, and then that also goes into your Ironclad, which one-shots the clan boss. Like you can't build that 900 IQ team, but what it does do is this actually does combo with Ironclad, which is really funny. So you can passively deal damage when it's not even your turn. Like they'll hit you, which makes your guy trigger the heal, which then overfills Ironclad's HP if they hit you really hard with the big nuke, which then hits them back for like half their nuke. It's a really funny combo. So there's some like weird mechanics you can do just built into cool, unique mechanics like these. That might not even be that good, but a cool part about that, it's just a cool thing I like about Rares is they have these unique part, is that splashback damage that you can do with him with the Ironclad also can trigger stun sets. So they can go out of their way and hit you, trigger this, and you can end their combo by having the AoE damage come back out from the heal into it. So there's all kinds of funny counters and stuff you can do like that we don't really ever build or think of because we're busy with like super meta characters.
Yeah, you're right. I like that. I like the off meta callouts. Keep them coming, man. I knew you'd be the perfect guest for this video because you've done so many free to play accounts, you know.
I built a Death Hound fully built, yeah.
yeah, same. So Knight's Revenant is our next. Not as many, at least, amazing rares. Maybe a few, though. So I'll start this one. I just got her. Well, I've had her for a while, but I kept using her for food. But I just got one that I'm actually going to invest in. Is Renegade. She's like, you know, one of the champions you actually see being used in endgame. As a matter of fact, like some of the best teams on Doom Tower Hard right now on floor 120 are using Renegade. Do you use Renegade at all?
I use her. I use her in my absolute fastest farming teams for Dungeons 25 anyway, or 24, I should say.
Okay, tell us about why you like her so much.
Well, the obvious one is she's a mini Kymar. She resets allies cooldowns, so you can do that, and then you can just basically cheese your way with 4 characters plus 1 character who's an entire reset bot for 1 wave. So you can use Seer and do like Bad Alcazar. I'm just gonna name characters the free-to-play people will never have. Bad Alcazar, Valkyrie, Lydia, all these characters, and then you Seer, nuke with those buffs, and then next wave Renegade resets everyone's turn, which then does it all literally again. And with the AI changes to the game, it's even better now. And I gotta say, the AI changes player aim added were like
amazing, right?
It really made the game better.
I mean, between those 2 quality of life updates, the ability to save teams and then change their AIs as well. There's still some work, a little like tweaking needs to go into that. Like it's such a pain to change teams up and stuff like that, or to swap champions up, but still the champions overall.
If they add conditions, could you imagine if they had conditions on like use A2 only win, decrease defense, yes, check mark, weaken, check mark,
dude.
The other ones,
you know what I mean? Really
like
into it. Yeah.
They can make it really good. But anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, so I agree. A Renegade for that A3, just an incredibly unique ability in this game. Not a lot of champions have abilities like that. So next up, who do you want to mention here?
So Knight Revenant actually has some of my favorite rares in the game.
Okay.
There's 3 in particular that I think are really insane. I'm going to start with Coffin Smasher, who's probably the best rare out of everyone in here other than Renegade. And this one is obvious. I actually just posed Coffin Smasher day 2 of the 24-hour no life account. So I've played 3 days on that account. I've got like 40 hours into it or something now. It's just been constant. And Coffin Smasher is going to be one of the first characters we max. Triple hit on basic, obviously Fire Knight, but on top of it, triple hit's good, does damage with Giant Slayer. On top of it, each hit has a chance of placing 50% decrease attack. So it's got like a lot of really good things going for it. Then the A2 is really simple. HP burn, 75% chance when fully booked. He does damage based upon HP, so he does tanky and deals damage. And then his passive also helps him essentially keep more of your teammates alive. It might seem like it reads one way, but it actually works here. So it says decrease the damage enemies inflict with AoE attacks by 5%. You might think it means decreases the damage he receives by 5%, but it decreases the damage enemies inflict with AoEs by 5%. It's actually different.
Sure, applies to every ally in your team. It's like kind of like the mini like Lydia passive, but incredibly effective. Like I love that you pointed out the 3-time hitter with Giant Slayer on the A1 and HP burn, right? HP burn champions, HP base, so easier to keep alive as well. So totally agree with you in Coffin Smasher. I have him on free to play, and I might build him out because I need an HP burner on that account. Who are your other faves?
Okay, so Crimson Slayer is another one. I just posed her recently, and I was expecting her to be a chicken because I didn't really have her moves memorized. But if you actually go through her moves, she's actually really good.
Wow. Okay.
Again, she has a triple hit.
Yep.
And then when you book her basic, this is actually nuts for a rare. It's 3 hits of random, so you get a triple hit on basic that's random, which is amazing. And then each hit has a 30%, again 50% when booked, chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn. So you get 50% on 3 people, basically. That's pretty good on a basic.
Not bad, yeah.
Then the A2 here, this goes up to 100% when you book her, which attacks enemies, 100% chance of decreasing target's turn meter by 50%. Fills the champion's turn meter equal to the amount the target loses. So if you decrease, 50%, then...
Yeah, she gets it.
50%, whatever, yeah. Pretty much that simple. And then the A3 is kind of cool, too. Attacks all enemies, heal reduction. So obviously, Fire Knight, anyone that needs heal reduction, and then you just do damage on the A3.
Yeah,
cool. That simple. She's really good though. I mean, the basic is pretty hilarious. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting, and I like to your point too. I mean, Terminator of Steel like that on a rare champion, not too bad on a 4-turn cooldown on the A2. Cool call out there.
She's got no useless moves, which is
exactly. So I imagine you use her. I mean, she seems like Fire Knight written all over her.
Yes, I agree.
Cool. Did you have any others or?
I have one more because Knight Revenant is one of my more favorites.
Yeah, man.
Which is Acolyte. And this character, I think, is just overall good and is one of the more underrated characters, probably.
Okay.
So A1, attacks an enemy, fills champion's turn meter 25%. Real basic. Okay, so just one hit, but he gets 25% on the basic. So again, good with charges and stuff, right? And then I like looking for characters that are good with charges, which is why I like triple hits really fascinating to me whenever you have that, especially at random. And then attack an enemy has 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 50%. So we get another one of these. Okay, this one goes, which is kind of weird. It goes to 90%.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a 90% chance. I think they missed something there. At the
yeah,
back.
95. You grab that sniper, right? That's
yeah, you know, it's like, okay, what's, you know, give us the extra tip. But then,
dude, Acolyte, bro, like, I'm not gonna lie and sit here and pretend that I knew Acolyte was this good, but like, it's impressive when you get to the Liberation A3 too. You're like, oh, okay. So he has a cleanse in this kit, and he's fast.
All debuffs. Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is a good call out. Like,
104 speed.
104 speed too, has all that turn meter. I like it. Hey, really good. I'll be honest, I never even talked about Acolyte ever here on the channel, so really cool there. All right, Dark Elves next up. So Dark Elves, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 kind of no-brainers. I'll go through the super easy no-brainers, and then we can have the Darth pick for sleeper of the the category here. Cold Heart. I'm not going to talk too long about Cold Heart. We all know Cold Heart. We all love Cold Heart. 4-hitter on our A1. We have AoE, 3-turn cooldown with poison. If they're under heal reduction, decrease accuracy on the A2. And of course, Heartseeker, one of the better abilities inside the entire game. Yeah, Cold Heart is just, you know, the best rare. You could definitely make a very strong case that she is the best or most useful rare, especially in the end game. And then
much better with the AI changes.
Yes, that's a good call out too. You know, no longer do you have to worry about her always just art of painting into a boss or you know, whatever settings you want. I have her actually not even using her A2 on one build and cancel out the A2, and I have her in reflex A3 priority, right? So just hitting multiple times with the Heartseeker is a really awesome feeling against, you know, whoever you're using her against. So Cold Heart, anything to add on Cold Heart or? Pretty.
I mean, to be honest, that one's beaten to death so much.
Yeah, right. I mean,
if they have to hear more about.
Same thing with the Kale. I'm gonna do Cold Heart and Kale in like a 2-second, you know, rundown. Kale, you guys know Kale. I don't know. The last time I mentioned Kale in a video, someone was like triggered. Like, why is it always Kale? Why doesn't everybody talk about the other starters? It's like, bro, because Kale's like really, really good. But if you like the other starters, awesome, man. Like, that's cool. They're good too. So, all right. So Kale, we don't need to talk about. Spirit Host, I'll give a shout out. She's totally farmable, so kind of early game arena. She's good because she has that cleanse on a 5-turn cooldown with block debuffs as well for a turn, which is nice. She also has increased attack on a 3-turn cooldown. So that Spirit Host, totally farmable again in campaign. I know there's another champion or two that you're going to want to talk about here because I see a couple of myself. I'll let you have the mic though, Darth.
Did you get all the real good ones? Because I thought I was doing my one. I have one underrated.
I'll keep going then. I'll keep going.
No breath time for you.
I like this.
I gotta make the money.
I wanted to sip of my water, man. All right, so Painkeeper.
Slack off.
This is the thing. This is when you do collabs. Aren't you supposed to just invite somebody to your channel and they do all the hard work and you just sit back?
I'm enjoying the show. I have the front row seat to the Ashes video. I'm just enjoying the live footage.
This is going to be like a 3-hour video, but I don't care. Hopefully the viewers don't care either. Painkeeper. Painkeeper mainly used now in Clan Boss and Unkillable comps, but still has a very useful A3. Again, talking about a Renegade, kind of one of those Kymar Renegade abilities, decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. On a 4-turn cooldown too, notable, is not bad. And then she has this kind of AoE heal on her A2, but again, mostly used as kind of an early game support healer or as an Unkillable comp team member, and then because of the reset cooldown. And then Paragon. Paragon is the last champion I'll talk about. Paragon Cheese is a thing because he has the Unkillable increased attack buff on a target ally for 2 turns on a 2-turn cooldown. So annoying to go against in the in Faction Wars, especially. Also has a 3-time hitter on a 4-turn cooldown with heal reduction.
You're doing good, Ash. You're doing good.
I'm going fast. I'm going fast. There we go. So those are my shoutouts. That's it, man. I got Paragon, Painkeeper, Cold Heart, Spirit Host, and Kale. Who do you have in mind here? Maybe this dude?
Okay. You know, you were so greedy. You took so many of those.
Nah, I know you have a few. All
right. I got an ace up my sleeve still. Okay. I'll tell you what. So check out my good friend Judge.
I thought so.
A classic character, okay?
Yeah.
And you know,
He's fast.
he's fast, and which is great. Look at the passive, which is pretty funny, for being honest, okay? Each hit has a chance of placing 50% decrease accuracy. So that is one of the good ones. Or 30% decrease speed. That's also one of the good ones. Or 50% decrease attack. That's also one of the good ones. Or 60% decrease defense. That is also one of the good ones. He has literally all of them built in. And you notice how there's no
on
passive
each hit. Yeah.
cooldown.
There's not.
There's no
and then look at his
cooldown.
A2.
You know where we're going.
Yeah,
with this.
yes.
So if we look at the A2, attacks all enemies 2 times, fills the turn meter by 10%. If there's 5 people and you have 100% crit rate, he automatically goes again, which means it's on a 2-turn cooldown. Okay. If you have reflex plus the passive that randomly has a chance to decrease 1, if they both trigger, he gets 3 turns because he goes, triggers, gets an extra turn, goes again, gets another turn because of the thing, which triggers it again. So
Dude. And he's placing a ton of debuffs.
He's placing all of the good debuffs, and because there's no cooldown on it, when he goes whack whack, it's just everyone gets all of the debuffs basically. So it is quite hilarious. And I've actually never pulled one on a free to play. I've been saving that guy in my back pocket for my next. His value game changing, skyrocketed, never be the same. Title.
By the way, guys, I have a new Judge video coming out tomorrow, so subscribe. No, I'm joking.
Oh my god.
Nah. Dude, hey, also Arcane Celerity, awesome kind of synergy on him too, that mastery, right? Because he's landing all those debuffs because he's placing them on all enemies 2 times because it's a 2-time hitter, and then he does it on every hit, so get even more turn meter fill there. So yeah, man, Judge, really good call out. Really good call out.
Yeah, no,
all right.
He's a nut job.
Moving right along here to Dark. Ooh, we already did Dark Elves, Ash. Come on, man. Undead Horde. Undead Horde. Okay. So I kind of like this format where I do the obvious ones and then you come in with a sleeper. So let's
swoop in with the
swoop in with the real good ones.
All right, no problem.
All right, so this one we have Frozen Banshee, who's used because of poison sensitivity, kind of early and even late game clan boss. She's one of the few rares that's used in the end game with clan boss. Again, poison sensitivity. She was the first champion added to the game with poison sensitivity, which is really cool on a rare champion. She also places poisons provided they're under that poison sensitivity. So great for clan boss for obvious reasons. I'm also a big fan of Doomscreech. Doomscreech is a cool champion because similar to Seeker on his A2, he has a increased defense, the big version, and a turn meter fill by 30%, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. He's an HP-based champion, easy to keep alive. On the A3, an AoE attack, damage based on HP, and a shield on himself. Damage increases according to his current HP as well. But really, it's all about that A2. Really, really awesome ability. Go ahead.
His A1's cool too because it actually hits kind of hard. It scales off both attack and HP. So yeah, the small base attack he has doesn't really matter. But he gets a little bit of extra bonus damage. But the A3, the one that actually matters because it hits everyone, is based upon HP. So obviously you can build them like tanky and still actually kind of hit hard, which is cool. And then you get a bigger shield because of it too. So yeah. And then, big fan.
Yeah,
I like him.
Those are my, I guess those are my 2 phases. I did build out Corpulent Cadaver. I guess this is going to be my like random choice of the video because he, again, when I'm looking for rares to invest in, this is for like Secret Room, whatever the heck it was on hard. I needed some good rare champions who were Spirit Affinity too, and I'm like, oh god, there's not that many choices here. So I invested in him because he has a shield with an extra turn on his A2. And then he has a provoke on his A3, but his damage, most importantly, he's easy to keep alive because he has good base stats in terms of his damage and his defense. He's not a crazy champion by any stretch of the imagination, but he has the defense in all battles. And I really needed that, an all-battle defense aura for for Secret Rooms was really handy, but again, kind of a niche choice. And I guess my last call-out will be Seducer. A lot of people in the game are big fans of Seducer. I've never built him in full sincerity, but again, a defense-based champion who has an AoE with decreased defense. He has an increased defense and block debuffs on a 4-turn cooldown as well. And he has he's a Temptress companion champion. If he has Temptress on the same team as ally attack, I've never met anybody who's done that with him. But those are going to be my obvious choices. Who do you have for us, Darth?
Well, in particular, though, I'm sitting here looking through these, and there's really 2 I'm struggling that I want to both mention. But
okay.
I'm going to go with Stitched Beast. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And
All right.
the reason I go with Stitch Beast is his basic is just hit 2 times, not a big deal. But he does do the 25% variant of Weaken, which is also a chance on each hit, and it is a multi-hit as well. So he has the 2 hit on the basic, 2 hit on the A2, and then the A3 is really good because it decreases the target's turn meter by 100%.
Wow.
And it's not a chance to do it, and he's void. So as a rare, you're basically guaranteed for the most part, as long as you pass, the accuracy check, to reduce that turn meter by 100%. So that helps in Spider, Ice Golem,
Yep.
anywhere really that you can use decreased turn meter to actually effectively beat the game. And now that on top of it, we have the AI changes again.
Yeah, lead in. Yep.
Oh, that have these decreased target turn meters are really important for the smaller guy to be able to complete things in this day and age. Once again, think turn meter is one of the most busted. I mean, it's not just me. That's why speed's king in pretty much any gacha game or game that has speed-based, turn-based movement. And decreasing turn meter is always going to be a huge deal. So for me, Stitch Beast is probably the low-key underrated. And also, if you look at his critical damage, it's 57% base.
Ooh, okay. Good call out on him. Good call out. Another good one here. Especially, I love, early access to 100% turn meter depletion. It's solid. I guess my last kind of shout out here before we move on is GFUEL Killer. I would not invest in her or max her out unless you want to do her in tandem with Frozen Banshee, because GFUEL Killer has a poison on her A1. She has a decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown on her A2, which is great. But then she has the big version if they're under a poison, and then the A3, she has a weak poison landing, but lands the strong poison if they're under poison sensitivity. So I think that overall, definitely a pretty solid kit for Clan Boss especially, and I like when she's paired with Frozen Banshee myself. All right.
I'm not going to argue there. I actually pulled on new account. I pulled that combo really early on the season 2. I pulled GFUEL and Frozen Banshee. I was building them, ended up not completing GFUEL, but because Frozen Banshee was just enough. The problem is, if you don't have books, having both of them solves not having like the book issue, basically. Or enough poison. So yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. All right, Demon Spawn. Demon Spawn, not a ton of champions, so I think that okay, there's only 2 here. Do you see the same 2 I do, or do you see a third?
I see 2. I see Diabolus and Abyssal.
Yes, I see exactly. Well, okay, I was gonna say Diabolus and Fellhound. I'm sure you just I'm sure.
What just happened?
Okay, so I wasn't gonna put Abyssal, but I was gonna let you give the shout out. So let's go ahead and do that. So Diabolus is farmable. Love this champion. Very fast. She could be the fastest rare in the game at 110 speed. She's all about speed. She has a mini Lysandra on her A3, positive charge, 15% turn meter boost and decrease on the enemies. She has the big version of increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown with an AoE attack, and she has a sleep on her A1. She's all about the speed, all about the turn meter manipulation.
Yep.
Great champion. Great that she's campaign farmable as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Farmable,
Fellhound, I mean, is the best, or is at least in the conversation as the best campaign farmer in the world. In the game is another way to put it.
I think technically he's the fastest in terms of frames, right?
That's what I heard.
He's technically the actual fastest farmer.
Yeah. In the game. And here I am using a legendary Queen Ava. It's like I should just be using Fellhound, right? Like I built her only for campaign farming, but yeah, I still use her. I think in my head because she's a legendary, even though it's not necessary. Could just use Fellhound. So good call out there. And then Abyssal, have you ever played him? Have you maxed him out? I have not.
I haven't maxed him. Most of the time with these rares, like I really stop at 50 for the most part.
Okay.
Just kind of try him out there, to be honest.
But he's got that A1.
I don't know if I would. He does, and I don't know if I ever would recommend anyone to max him out, to be honest with you. But even if you're using him in Doom Tower, whatever people say there. But yeah, the A1 is kind of where he's fairly unique. You book it, and he goes 30%, and 30% on the basic of applying block buffs is pretty good, especially since if that's a tool you end up needing, you're probably fighting some weird team, like in the Doom Tower, or doing some kind of weird arena charge team. I don't know where you would use that. So for people that are using it, they probably have the resources to use them. I think he's kind of like a very, very niche pick, but if you get him super early, like the first week, you can probably use him a little bit without booking him.
Yeah, I mean, if this last ability was on it could be booked down to a 3-turn, then I'd be way more enticed to actually invest in him kind of in the long game. But because having a heal and having that, to your point, an AoE on the A1 with the block bust, put him in a retaliation set or something like that, avenging set, like he could have some potential. I think that even for like that secret room, like I mentioned earlier, the Spirit Affinity secret rare room, like you could use him there, but I'm with you. He's like kind of borderline for me. That's why I said 2-ish.
I'm pretty sure he was designed for Faction Wars. I did the Demon Spawn, and I don't know about you, but for me, it was one of the harder ones to complete when I was getting Lydia.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah,
you didn't, so I take it you didn't have Duchess?
I know, I do not.
Same.
Have Duchess.
Well, I didn't have the time.
With
yeah.
Macabs.
Oh man.
I have a video of me like sitting there for like 19 hours.
Oh my word, dude.
And
I had to go with Tainix as my healer to do it.
I maxed out almost every Demon Spawn champion I had trying to figure out how to beat it at some point. But yeah, I think Abyssal was probably beat for that, or made for that Faction Wars to try it twice. So you can block the buffs of the Valkyries and stuff like that, I would think.
Cool. All right, Orcs. Well, Orcs, I think that Orcs are not that great personally. I mean, Galek is one of the starting champions. We're not going to talk a lot about the starters, but, you know, suffice it to say, he's actually, I think, my least favorite of all the starters, but he's still not trash. He's, you know, decently fast. He has HP in all battles, and he has a decreased defense, albeit on a 4-time at random on a 5-turn cooldown. But has, I believe, one of the hardest hitting, just in sheer damage out of the starting champions. Other than that, I guess my only call out would be, and I'm sure you have one here, but mine's going to be Veteran, especially, again, for Faction Wars. There's not a lot of champions. Hard to get your hands on a decrease attack champion, so he has that, especially for the red boss. And then he has a, increased crit rate, damage inflicted, and defense. Well, he's a defense-based champion, so he's easy to keep alive, and he has the AoE on the 3-turn cooldown on the A3 with a block buffs, which is actually really solid at 60% land rate. So there we go. That's my 2 call-outs here. Anybody else?
So yeah, Orc actually has my favorite rare in the game, which is Ironclad.
Oh yeah, you just mentioned him.
About him. Yeah, I mentioned him a little earlier in combination with some other characters.
Yeah.
I think he
Tell us why you like. This is your favorite guy, huh?
This is my favorite rare.
Okay.
And yeah, by far, I've used him significantly. I've built many of him, trying to figure things out. We spent a whole week where we tried to figure this character out, and his passive works really well. The whole problem with his passive is they limited it to a 1-time cooldown per turn, meaning he has to take a turn before his passive's allowed to be used again. But I promise you, if they ever change that where it could be used, you know, every time it's just a passive built into him, he would be in tons of teams. He would be like a fairly meta character, because the way his passive works is really well done. It applies everything based upon him, so you can use gear sets out of turn, basically. Like, imagine being able to apply stun set effects even though you don't have a stun set on you, like Apothecary, you know? You can do damage while applying the stun set, because all you have to do is run like the 2 rares together. So you have Apothecary healing with a curing set on him with a 100% crit rate, healing the Ironclad, which does a huge heal, so you can crit for like 50,000 AoE damage from the Ironclad, which also he has a stun set on him, which that then applies the stun set. You know, there's
so
all kinds
cool.
of,
yeah.
That is
really interesting. That is a really interesting. I wonder why they don't have any other champion in the game with an ability like this. I like that though. I
think the ability is honestly busted.
It's too strong, but they just put it. Yeah. Strong. Wow, that's so cool, man. You're making me want to max Ironclad. That's awesome though.
He's worth it for the fun, but like I'm saying, he's not usable really because of the path.
Happy, I was happy.
He has to take a turn before his passive can be used again, and that ruins it. As soon as they fix that, he's top tier in like everything.
Awesome, man. All right, well, cool.
And all that works too. So,
yeah,
like, passively you can even have that. It's great.
You a fan of any of these other orcs?
Nah, they're all garbage.
Okay, I agree. Skinwalkers don't have many. They don't have many. But they have 2 decent ones, maybe even 3. Maybe even more. Let's see who you say. So Greybeard is a farmable champion, good for the early game. I would not take him to 6 stars, so I guess going against the rule of the video, but I did want to give him a call out because a defensive-based champion who has an AoE freeze on a 3-turn cooldown based on defense again. So that's pretty cool. I built him in, Frostbite artifacts, and he was actually pretty cool, man. And then we have a shield on this champion for 2 turns on his A3 with a counterattack which leads him into his A1 where he has a 75% chance at landing a provoke. So his kit has a decent synergy, and he has defense in dungeons by 30%. So he's bringing a lot to the table for an early farmable campaign champion. My other guy would be, well, there's actually a few here, right? But Gnarlhorn, yeah.
I was going to say, I kind of disagree, because I kind of think Skinwalkers is one of the best factions.
Yeah, there's just not that many, but they're actually good. Yeah.
Like, basically, every single rare in here, except the Void ones when we get to there. But I think every rare is good.
Okay, so Gnarlhorn is my I guess my second obvious choice. I'll let you take it from here. Damage increases according to how much the HP this champion has lost on the A1. On his A2, he has a provoke on all enemies for 1 turn with an increased defense on himself. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. A 3-turn guaranteed provoke with a place, so it's not predicated on a critical hit, again, is very, very unique for a rare. I don't think anybody has it. And then he has unkillable on himself for 2 turns every 3 turns. You kidding me? He's definitely one of the most well-known rare champions in the game. He has allied defense and dungeons by 27%. He's really has an epic kit. I mean, probably a good epic kit on a rare champion. Anything you want to add to either of those champions before you get into your other favors?
I like Gnarlhorn. I think his basic kind of ruins him a little bit, just because of the fact that you can't strong critical or weak hit. It's kind of a bummer. The weak hit doesn't really matter because he doesn't really apply anything, and not being able to stronger crit kind of ruins the, his basic a little
his
bit.
damage.
But other than that, he's a good tank, and
he's a good support. Like
early is great.
Yeah, hard to kill with the unkillable. All right, who's your favorite out of Fleshmonger, Grappler, Channeler, Bloodpainter?
It's hard to pick a favorite because they're all really good for different things. Like Fleshmonger is one of the only people in rare anyway that's going to give you AoE defense down for the 60% variant, and he gives himself the attack up and crit rate before he can do it because he gets an extra turn. So you can extra turn yourself into the AoE down with the new AI, and that's pretty nice. So it's slightly better than the other. The problem is it's not 100%, so War Maiden still beats him there, but he does have a triple hit on basic, and again, I'm kind of a fan of triple hits on basic just because I think they help a lot of things. Bloodpainter is really your poisoner for people that happen to need poison early. Again, it has that D accuracy down, and then also he fills turn meters of all allies except himself, which is weird. And places attack up on people, right? So it's not going to override the 50% if you have it, but it will give you a little bit of attack up if you don't have it. You also get 5% poison on the basic, so you can almost, if you have them booked, 25% chance of each. It's almost a steel skull basic, basically. So it's not bad. That with a turn meter fill. And then you also have Grappler, which is a counter for Scarab, because if you need shield on everyone, you can use him for that for Scarab. So for Doom Tower, Grappler is pretty good. He has some other things about him which are all right, like the weakened, the really crappy poisons. But then Channeler is kind of a pseudo Apothecary. If you don't have Apothecary, you can use this A3 to speed up with the turn meter fill. So everyone's kind of got a little bit of their own role for something in particular that you might need. That's kind of why I like Skinwalkers, because you pull any of the rares, you might be able to slot them in somewhere.
Yeah, I think that you bring good use cases up for all of these champions, so good job, man. Lizard Men, let's go. Speaking of Scarab King, let's start with Metal Shaper, a very unique champion because he's one of the only champions, I think there's only 3 or 4, that have a shield the same duration as their cooldown on it, which is a 2-turn cooldown for a 2-turn shield. It's very useful, again, for Scarab King. This guy went from a kind of a niche, I don't know, like a little bit below average rare to like really one of the more used rares, I guess now, especially in the end game because of that shield. And then we have a steal on the A1, and he has a remove all debuffs from an ally with lowest HP, then heals that ally by 20% of the champion's max HP. Not a bad kind of support ability as well, with the small version of increased defense, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. So, but really it's all about the shield on Metal Shaper. And then let's see, who do you have next here?
Well, an interesting point about Metal Shaper real quick is that he's the only character in the game that that's based upon his level, that scales upon his level, which is really, really odd.
It is odd. Yeah, these abilities on level, or like these bizarre, when they use like some are like based on attack, and like they are very unorthodox. Those are always bizarre, but better, even more of a reason to take him to level 60, right?
So another rare that I got here is here's another. This is a good topic because I think this is another underrated rare.
I know, man. This video is going like way better than I thought it would.
So Hurler is one of the rares that every time I pull him, I say the same thing. I'm like, no one talks about this guy, but like he's way good because his A3 attacks an enemy, puts the target's skills on cooldown. It's like a legendary. There's literally legendary with that. So it doesn't just have a chance of it. It does it, and it puts all of his skills on cooldown. Some of them like delay him 2 turns or something. It just triggers all of the moves. So really good early game arena. Like if you get him fast, if you happen to get him faster, he's 96 speed, so he's not super fast, but he, the slowest guy either. You can just hit whoever their nuker is or something, and it's just over.
It's over,
pretty
yeah.
Funny. Yeah, he's really good early.
Yeah, I'm checking out his multipliers right now.
He's got 1400 basic.
I was gonna say, he seems like he could hit pretty hard too, so I'm gonna check out his multipliers right now. Hey, check it out, man. Dude, he has a 5 multiplier on his A2 and a 5.5 multiplier on his A3, which basically means that he hits pretty hard. So,
yeah,
cool.
So,
cool.
Arena guy, potentially.
Yeah, not especially being force as well helps you out because a lot of magic nukers out there, so easier in that regard in the arena. Any of these other guys that you're a big fan of? Bogwalker, people used to talk about like early game.
Bogwalker, yeah, he's got a decent passive with the reflect damage. We've already talked about why that's good. The basic attack with decreased attack, pretty good too. Sworn is obviously the duo for Lord, and you can actually use Sworn with Lord to cheese all of the lizardmen and get your lizardmen done. That's how I did it. The boss at the very end literally just attacks him, kills him over and over again. You can auto it. Yeah. So I was able to complete lizardmen's cheesing it with Sworn. Plus, he's not even that bad of a character. He's farmable. I mean, putting counterattack on yourself used to be the meta way of farming back in the day with, way back in the day, right when the game started. That's how people did it with lifesteal gear. So whatever that's worth. And then a chance of placing extra hits, interesting, because as far as I'm aware, the way this works is kind of like the basic of Lord, where you have effectively a chance to attack again. So
yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, not bad. And also, I guess people really like Haruspex too. Do you like this champion?
I think he's overrated, personally. I
think he's slightly overrated as well.
Like him.
Yeah.
I get why people like him. He's got revive.
Exactly. If I didn't mention him, I know people would say it in the comments, but I don't think I would invest in him if I pulled him even on any of my accounts. He has speed in arena, which is nice, and like you said, he has a revive, which there's not a lot of rares who have revive, so that's solid. His A2 is not bad. I mean, he's good for like an early game arena champion, right?
I really think he's a bait because it's like revive's really good, okay, but you literally start the game with a revive. So unless we're talking about faction wars for lizardmen, I don't care about the revive.
Yeah, it'd be so much better than Shaman, though,
Exactly, you know, and then the A2, it doesn't give you the 30% speed, it gives you the 15% one, so I don't want it. And then it's a 15% fail, not a 30. So if it did a 30 and a 15, it would still do one of them poorly. And if it did a 15 and 30, it would still do one of them poorly. It's the poor one of both. And the basic attack is 2.5% poison, so we don't even want that on Clan Boss anyway, because we want 5%. So literally the whole character doesn't work for me. And the only reason I think people liked him in the beginning is they see 15% speed in arena, and they think arena and speed equal good. It does, but it's only 15%. And people are wasting resources.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that's Lizardmen. Moving along, we have Ogryn Tribe, Rare Champions.
I like this one. Okay, so I'm going to start off right off the back because I think I'm going to claim the good ones for myself.
Go for it.
So Bellower, okay? Bellower's obviously nuts. I'm not going to go and read through his whole kit, but all of his moves are AoEs, okay? And blocking active skills on the basic, decreased speed on the A2, decreased attack, decreased defense on the A3. All of these versions are kind of the weaker version of their respective debuffs, but he attacks in AoE in all forms, and he was highly important previously because we did not have AI changes, meaning people that had A2s and A3s that hit single, but their basic A1, they were still slow farmers because they would use the A3, then the A2, and then basic, and then use it, right? So Bellower was a key farmer back in the day. Because of that, also with the fact that it's all AoE is really good in stun sets, taunting sets, anything that set effects really work. His time in the sun is slowly falling because more and more characters are able to farm, and farming isn't even something people make videos about anymore. Like, this character can farm because basically everyone can farm now.
Yep, I agree. Take your gimmies.
Okay, and I'm going to take my next gimme, which is Roughstone. I actually like Roughstone, and the reason I say this is, one, he has an AoE on basic, which if you pull an AoE on basic early, it's actually really nice. You can put even a 2-star stun set on people from right off the bat from Fire Knight, and it makes a lot of things easier from the beginning. I mean, any of the dungeons, it will make a lot easier, and I'm a huge fan of that for that reason. His A2 is kind of garbage, but you do need decreasing targets max HP at some point for Scarab, even if you're trying to do the normal. So if you build them, you do have some usability there. And then here on the A3, attacks an enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense, which is actually pretty good, and then has 50% chance of granting an extra turn if it's a critical, so it doesn't have to kill the person like a lot of these trash rares do in order to get the extra turn, which makes it unusable. It's just if you get the critical. So it's basically a coin flip. You get an extra turn every time you use that move, which means it's a coin flip that maybe you can stun again or something. So
yeah, not bad
reason,
too.
I like
his A3 has a 3.1 attack multiplier. His A2 has a 4.8, and his A1, which is the AoE, has a 3 attack multiplier, which is not bad. All right.
So he's all around decent. I'll let you take the other ones.
Sure, I have Gear Grinder. Gear Grinder is a champion that deserves a call out, but I am, again, it depends on if you need a reviver, right? So revives any dead ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter is a solid revive to have, especially on a rare champion, albeit void, on a 5-turn cooldown. He also has a heal on a 3-turn cooldown, and he has a continuous heal on his A1. So just a lot of support coming from this reviver, and HP and faction crypts, okay. So I think the Gear Grinder is nice to have that reviver in, again, in Orgrin. Other than that, though, I wouldn't, if I didn't need a reviver, I would not invest in Gear Grinder, but that's just me, even though that is a solid revive to have. The other, there's some borderline ones, but for me, it's those 3, Darth. Who do you have here that you really love?
I mean, that's it, man. I mean,
yeah.
the new My Oculus.
I was going to say, he's new. Yeah.
He's new, and which makes him a little bit more exciting, but no.
Yeah, weak version of Ally Protect.
Not it.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of damage mitigation on Michaelis, but I don't know. The weak version of Ally Protect on a slow champion with not great base stats, I don't know. All right, so there we go. Moving up to Barbarians, where there's quite a few. A lot of there's a lot to talk about here. Jeez.
Why don't you? Why don't you shoot me out your 2 favorites, and then I'm going to give you what, in my opinion, the most underrated ones.
Sure. So let me go rapid speed here and cover like some whatevers. So Marked is campaign farmable, has an increased defense, big version, and block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. That's very rare for a rare. So there you go. There's only a couple of champions that even have the strong version of increased defense. We talked about Doomscreech earlier, and she also has the block debuffs with that. So she's a good champion. We have War Maiden is also campaign farmable and incredibly important champion of the game. She's a force affinity defense breaker with a 3-turn cooldown, 100% land rate, not bad damage as well. We have 1, 2 that I'll leave for you. And then we have Soulbound Bowyer, who has an AoE on her A1, great in retaliation or avenging sets. She also has a lot of ignore defense, extra chance at landing critical hits. Just a solid addition to the game for a rare champion in terms of a damage dealer. Do you want to go here? I have like 3 or 4 others.
Yeah, I mean, this one's pretty loaded.
Yeah,
with
stacked.
Man.
We're stacked.
To be honest, I mean, for me, the one that really is kind of my favorite out of these is Marked. I think Marked is probably my personal favorite. And the reason for it being is it's the A3, right? I mean, it's 60% increased defense buff up on an ally for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown is typically something you see on Epics Plus. And she also gives block debuffs. Like, even without the block debuffs, it would be a good move. You know, because it goes down to 3 turns, but you also get block debuffs for a turn, which is pretty nuts considering she has 100 base speed.
Yeah,
you'll get another A2, which is another decreased accuracy, so for whatever that's worth, but again, it attacks all enemies, and the basic does the lower version of decreased defense, so at a minimum, you're probably always going to have that on a boss if you use her.
Yeah, she'd bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, no, I personally believe this character is probably one of, she's not underrated, but she's probably one of the most ones that people say are underrated that has been talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talked about a bunch. And big fan of that. She kind of pairs with, she's the reverse of War Maiden, right?
Yeah, and they're both wearing the same outfit. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, I have Scrapper's decent if you need a Scarab King, a Destroy Gear champion because he has a self shield. If you have 150 books to book him up in. Look at these. I mean, unbelievable. Luckily, his passive doesn't need any, but yeah, you're rocking quite a few levels there. So he's kind of a new addition to the game. Again, a decent kind of early and mid-game Scarab King option. And then Slayer is actually a champion that I noticed a bunch of people are using in Doom Tower Hard because he just deals a decent amount of damage, right? It's an AoE attack on Frostburst, his A2, and then he has a poison and a guaranteed stun on a 4-turn cooldown on his A3. Again, kind of a niche champion, but he deals good damage, squishy, used, by, I guess, a little bit in the end game. Berserker is also another really good damage dealer. He has on his A1, fills his champion's turn meter by 30% if the attack is critical. On the A2, grants an extra turn if the target is killed. And on the A3, it's the big hitter he has in his kit. A 4-turn cooldown attacks all enemies 2 times, ignoring 20% of the target's defense. So good for a damage dealer. And Ragemonger. Ragemonger is similar and a great attacker. They have like a lot of good kind of, I don't know, slightly above average damage dealers here in the Barbarians.
Well, in Doomstrider, even, which we haven't really talked about either, has one of the highest multipliers in the game, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, I was not aware. So what ability has the crazy multipliers? Is it the?
I think all of them. Is she supposed to be fairly hard hitting, from what I understand? That's what people have told. Every time I pull the Doomstrider, there's just been comments being like, "She's the hardest hitting character in the game."
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna look her up right now. That's a good call out too. So I feel like even Ox people use, right? So Ox has a decreased defense on one enemy, has a block active skills on his A2, and has a fill champ meter.
I think Ox is a bait.
Yeah.
I think he's a bait.
I see him. The reason is because I'm not sure if it's I forgot the secret room, if it's a barbarian only or rare only, but I see like, this is end game niche. This is not like invest in Ox and Ragemonger when you're a new player. But the new players we already called out, Marked in War Maiden, Soulbound Bowyer, definitely really solid. Let's see on these multipliers before we move on here. Yeah, they're all right. I don't know. Maybe she just hits, sometimes because the multipliers according to.
What are they?
It's 3.62 on the A3, 1.9 on the A2, 3.45 on the A1.
I don't know what people are smoking. People keep telling me she's a hard. She does have a cool looking sword, though. I mean, to be honest, the green.
She looks like she hits. Yeah. All right, Sacred Order, man. There's a billion of these champions here. Good God. Aethel starting champion. We're not going to talk too much about her, but she's really solid.
That one's been beat to death too.
Yeah.
And then Mother Superior was worth $15. You remember that back in the day?
I don't remember that. Was it what was it?
They actually sold her right next to Horden. They sold her for $15. You could get her, and you got like some 3-star speed gear or something with her.
All right. Mother Superior, I think, is not that great. What about you?
I don't think she's that great either, but the thing about her is her aura. Normally, a lot of these rares have Alex B, then all bad. Those is 10%. Hers is 13%. So if you really care about 3% more, there you go.
Yeah, I guess so. We have War Priest. I'm not a big fan of. Let's see. I could have sworn there was one that I actually did like in terms of support here. I guess Draconis is a solid option for a shield champion, right? So he has a continuous, or a heal, ally with lowest HP on his A1, which is nice to have. On his A2, he has that shield, and on the 3-turn cooldown, and you have a removes all debuff from the ally with lowest HP, then heals them by 25% of the damage inflicted. So we want to make sure we build him with 100% crit rate and, inflicting some damage as well. HP-based champion, so fairly easy to keep alive. Not a bad option, kind of a, I don't know.
To be honest, man, I think that this one has the most rares that are complete.
Yeah, right.
Really, like, just
there's a lot of them, but yeah, I'm
like this guy, Lame Lamar, literally has lame in his name. Solaris is not good at all.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And then we have. I mean, most of these are bad. What's interesting is the farmable character Templar is one of the better ones, even on here. That's mostly because of his A2, hits 4 times the randoms and provokes, and he block damages himself. Other than that, and the cool thing too is his passive doesn't have a limit on it either. So attacks with this champion default skill whenever an enemy places a debuff on this champion. Stuff like that is pretty good. It's a bummer they don't have an HP burn gear set, because he would be amazing in Spider. Then you could make him be the off affinity tank. Spiders would hit him, he would counter attack. HP burn all of them. I've been trying to figure out ways to get that passive to actually do something against somebody, but it is one of those tools, kind of like the Ironclad, where it's like, okay, this character has something fairly unique that no one else have. I wonder if I can figure out.
You're right, though, man. This is a pretty crappy rare. I mean, epics are amazing here, and so are legendaries, but boy.
Yeah, the rares.
The rares.
Really,
yeah, they loaded up on them, but they're not that quality. All right,
Witness
High Elves.
is kind of okay, but Witness is
Yeah.
like the only other one that's kind of okay, and it's, just because shield and block debuffs.
Yeah, she has increased defense on ally lowest HP on the A2, block debuffs, and a shield on a 4. Yeah, pretty fast too.
All the rares right there.
Yeah. High Elves, well, the obvious is Apothecary and Reliquary Tender. I think that, like, personally, in whatever order you want to rank them, Reliquary Tender, Apothecary, and Coulter are the 3, best endgame viable rares in the game. Apothecary is so good because he has that heal on a 2-turn cooldown as well, and he's fast, and of course the turn meter boost, increased speed, and the dungeon aura, and the 3-hitter on the A1, right? Like, people know why. Yeah,
people know why. I think one of the ones that kind of gets overshadowed a little bit because it's High Elves and there's a lot of good ones is Hyreo. I don't know how to say her, but the last chick there.
Okay.
25% extra crit on the basic, which is just kind of nice, but not a big deal. The A2 is pretty good, though. It hits 3 times. Each one has a 50% chance of poison when booked. Okay, it's a 2-turn poison, so that's actually not too bad. That's kind of like Juliana's move there.
And the ally attack?
Yeah, ally attack as well, which goes down to 4 turns. So she's got overall a solid kit.
Yeah, you're
right in the beginning, she's usable as one of those characters I was talking about, where it's like, let's get them to 5-star.
Yeah.
And maybe crunch them into somebody else. Hey, she's one of those for sure. And plus, she looks like Spock's wife.
Yeah, she sure does. She has a very cool aesthetic, actually, for a rare champion as well. But yeah, good call there on the ally attack. Eris is not awful. She has remove 1 random debuff from all allies, then 100% chance of placing increased speed, on a 3-turn cooldown. And then she has grants an extra turn on the A1. Her passive counterattacks the attacker whenever an ally is attacked. That's on a 1-turn cooldown as well. And then she has speed and dungeons by 16%. So could do a lot worse for early game rare option. Elhain obviously is a fantastic starter, and Reliquary Tender, as I mentioned earlier, is an absolute beast, right? I mean, that cleanse with the heal on a 3-turn cooldown is fantastic. She's speedy, and she has revive and decreased attack as well, weak version on her A1. I love Reliquary Tender, Darth, one of my favorite champions in the game. How about you?
I think there's one other one that it kind of gets a bad rap too, because he gets overshadowed. It's Kmart Apothecary, which is Magister.
Okay.
And interestingly enough,
yeah, right.
It actually does revive on death and reflect damage on the same target, which is kind of cool, because if somebody's about to get one shot, you can reflect the damage back and then revive them, and it does heal the other people too, which is kind of nice. I mean, I don't think he's good or worth building, but maybe if you pull him like Ryan the Star, you can give him the 4-star or something.
Yeah.
Not feel too bad about it, then dump him later on. So the revive on death, I think, is always kind of a fun mechanic to use. There's a few times I've used that to beat stuff. So maybe early game faction wars even.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good call out as well, and I think that's pretty much it for High Elves. Do you like Fencer or Adjudicator? I don't like Interceptor. Yeah, okay. Bannerlords, here we go. We finally made it.
Finally made it, baby.
Wow. All right, so Bannerlords, you want to start this one out?
Yes, because it has the character that drops the most for me out of any character in the entire game, which is Steadfast Marshal. Every time I'm excited with a Void Shard, and I think, this could be anything. It's not anything. It's a Void Shard.
Marshal.
And it's Steadfast Marshal comes popping out of there. I remember he was one of the first releases of characters when Vel just came out, and everyone thought the place's Vel buff on all allies except this champion was going to be great. It would almost be like a form of Provoke, and then it really ended up that he's just not good because his A2. My cat just walked all over my audio.
I was like, Darth? Yeah.
She attacked my audio stuff. But yeah, no, the thing is he pops out more than anyone else for me. Dagger's obviously good. There's not that many people here I actually like. Dagger's kind of good. I think she's slightly overrated. People like her obviously because you have a lot of debuffs there, especially the defense down. But once again, War Maiden is a farmable, better version of the defense down. So It's kind of like, man, Preserver actually hits really hard. I had Preserver early game one time, and she was hitting harder than my KO right in the beginning. I don't know what it is, but it's her A1 was really smacking pretty hard. We used her in Season 1 free to play. Conqueror is okay in Magic Keep because he's one of the stealing buff people. I used him in early game Magic Keep. And other than that, man, I really don't think there's much here to be excited about.
Nah, I will give a shout out to Valerie, who's not bad. Early game, increase the duration of buffs and decrease the duration of debuffs, or you guys can read it. Increase attack as well on that. And then she has a shield. So it's a 5-turn shield, which sucks, but it's a solid shield. And also a heal on that same ability. So early, I used her at 4 stars, maybe 5. No, 4 stars in the early game on my free to play, and she was good. She was like solid. Dagger though, I'm actually a big fan because she's squishy, which kind of sucks. She's void, so that kind of makes up for at least a little bit of having only the 75% chance or 80 with sniper of landing the decreased defense, and she has a decreased attack as well, right? Which is the big version if they're under the decreased defense. So it's really nice to have that against bosses, especially getting like 2 of the more important debuffs on from a void champion as well is nice. Each critical hit decreases the target's turn meter, and turn meter decrease up to 8% on the A1 is not too bad. But there we go, dude. We've done every single rare in the game. Oh my God.
We made it.
We made it, man. Thanks so much for coming on. If you guys aren't subscribed to Darth Microtransaction, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Go ahead and check out the channel. Pinned
30
comment.
more subscribers. I only need 30 more. And
30
then
more?
after that, I become rich and famous.
Wow, that's it, huh? Let's help Darth get rich and famous, guys. Come on. All he needs is 30 subscribers. Check it out. Pinned comment, description below. Darth, thank you so much for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Matt, anytime. You always know I love blabbing.
It's good times, man. This is actually really fun. I like the format that we used. Anyway, I'll stop blabbing here at the end. When you get 2 ramblers together, you get a lot of blabbing going on. Guys, thank you so much for watching.
Give me your best like, comment, subscribe on the way out the door. Give me your best YouTuber like, comment, subscribe.
I never do that because I figured that I'm not above it, but like I don't do it because I figured that the people don't even listen to it anymore. Like people absolutely, when you say that, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah, but how many people make it to the you see this
no one's
cat,
watching right
like,
now.
Absolutely.
I know. Your cat's like, see, it even triggered your cat saying that, dude. What I say is this: instead of saying like, comment, subscribe, I'll be like, guys, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Please help me get there. Thank you so much. Or I'll say, guys, if you enjoy this content, go ahead and throw me a like. I really appreciate it, or enjoy the content, let me know. So try to give a little value add or something. I don't know. Anyway,
it's not bad.
That's the best I have. What about you? You want to give one to sign us off officially here?
Yeah, like this video or else literally the next 100 shards you pull are all going to be duplicate rares that you hate.
Take care, guys.